Links to join channel here over at Subscribe. I got a mailbox. Anyone wants to send me this comic, Alphacore by Dixon and July, who both seem like very cool guys because they're being attacked by Soyboys, and that's a really good sign. When just the most soylent vagina people on earth are coming after you, just this passive aggressive backbiting whining, and you look at it, oh, so anonymous campaign Josh Friedmaster is coming after, Josh Friedmaster with like probably 12 people subbed him, is coming after people who are just trying to sell comic books. Yeah, that's usually a good sign. So Chuck Dixon, Vox Day, Eric July have got to be over target because the soy boys, the cat ladies, these estrogen bleeding vaginas are very upset about them. And to set the stage, Eric July is his YouTube channel is called Young Rippa. You probably already subbed if you're subbed to this channel. Is a pop culture movie guy who dabbles into comics a bit, sort of in the Venn diagram of Comicsgate, Phantom Menace area of YouTube. Even if people don't really say they're this thing or that, it's all there's probably like 200 people who make channels who are all kind of starting to nucleate around, are they right-wingish or just kind of more free speech or just not SJWs, liberal libertarian? I'm not exactly sure. It's a sliding spectrum, but I mean, there's no SJWs in it, so I guess that's kind of the unifying dogma. So to really set the stage, you got to we're talking about comic books. That's it. It's comic books. It's not that deep. Thanks to Vegan for Elsum. I got the air sale cracked open tonight. But to the soy people, it's deep because it's obviously more about comic book. Comic book is just the vector to push this bullshit propaganda. And when you reject the comic books, it's a rejection of their globalist ideology. That's why they get so outraged about it. And, ultimately, they don't like the look of this comics. Like, well, nobody's forcing you to buy it, friend. Why don't you make your own comics? Like, because I have no talent whatsoever. Or even if they do have talent, it takes a F-load of energy and effort to do anything. It's like, oh, you guys should start. You should start Josh Friedmaster. You should start a YouTube channel. Start talking about something you enjoy. Do it for a couple of years. Get some kind of following. Join some kind of network, and do. Obviously, I assume you're a left wing guy. That's fine. So get a left wing comic group together on YouTube and start selling your comic, buddy. Best of luck to you. We don't have to fight just because you're set to fight. What if we didn't? What if we didn't fight? What if you just went your own way, you sold your comics, by all means, form a network. It's like, well, yeah, but that's like 2 years of work. Yeah, but you're doing something you're interested in, and you have a YouTube channel. It will get monetized. Like, you'll get some money coming in off it, and like, you're doing something you enjoy. Presumably, you're talking about whatever pop culture. You're getting your views out there. You're going to get a left wing audience around you. Even if you're not getting paid much from YouTube, and you don't with small channels, but it's like you're still you're doing something you enjoy, right? And then you're setting yourself up to sell comics if that's your thing, or t-shirts or coffee or whatever you're into. It's like, why not get out there and produce something, be productive, as opposed to just being backbiting against the people who are, in this case, Eric July has got like a 7-figure comic campaign, which is really impressive. I mean, back in the day, it was like if the comic got funded at like $30,000, where legitimately you went from red ink to black ink, that was something to celebrate. And when Zach got out there and his first comic Jawbreakers was gonna hit $200,000, it hit $200K, and then Mr. Mark Wade, biggest pussy and living in his gated community in his $2 million house in outside of Hollywood. He's afraid to leave his house over the past 3 years because of the flu stuff going around. Honestly, he did this interview. I felt bad for the guy the first time because I realized he's not playing with a full deck. He's not all there. The thing is, where was I going with that? These people don't they tear down, but they don't create anything, because it would be so easy for them to do anything, but they just can't do it. And they're insufferable people who, like other SJWs, hate SJWs. So if they tried to set up a left-wing Comicsgate type of thing, it would be ice skating uphill. They'd really have their work cut out for him. So the thing is, when you reject their ideology in the form of comic books, they get really, really upset about that. Oh, great, you've got some Kaiser. Now, who's that? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia map of being in the mailroom and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm not gonna too long. Didn't read it. And honestly, I just don't care what some. Let me click on his channel. Some insane person who has got 400 followers and been on Twitter for 2 years. That means that you're not saying anything interesting whatsoever if you have that kind of ratio. You're following more people than are following you. It's not about the followers. No. I'm not saying it is. Like, I don't care about that ego stuff either. But it means that you're not bringing anything fresh to the table. You're just saying the party line. If you're making these kind of bizarro posts attacking Chuck Dixon and Eric July, and they get like a dozen likes on them from your fellow Soyboys. Anyway, so the thing is, to really set the stage, you got to go back to the days of diversity in comics. I don't even remember 2015, is that when that kind of got started? Sitting in his car holding a comic with one hand and his shaky phone in his other hand. It was the lowest production values ever. I mean, I guess to be fair, it was a $16,000 Kia and a $300 phone. And unfortunate and uncomfortable crotch shots that made everyone feel awkward and just kind of embarrassed. We all wish that he used a lap hijab for modesty. But no, we just got crotch shots. But anyway, he got everything started, and he is directly responsible for starting hundreds of channels and causing millions of dollars to flow into this industry, and it all traces back to this one guy. And he's like one of the one dudes in the comics community that I haven't had any interaction with, and I don't want any interaction with him. I don't mean it like that. It's kind of interesting. Like, he was the nucleus that got all these channels started. Even if you started on YouTube, and like myself, I kind of went over to Odyssey and BitChute and more focused on that kind of stuff. But like, you got to give the guy credit. It was all kind of traces back to him. Like, he was the one who was able to take criticism of comics and make it way more interesting, because there were people who were doing it before, but they had really small channels, and like they just he's able to do something to it. And you got to give credit to the guy. And his comics are fantastic. The guy's an amazing writer. I like, Iron Sights? Iron Sights with Ibe Canales was definitely my favorite. Anyway, he got the ball rolling, and they threatened to kill him, and he made threats against his loved ones because of comic books, but really because people were starting to reject the narrative coming from the mainstream industry. I don't even know if you can read this. I'm not even sure what he's trying to say, but I give two shits what some soy pussy on Twitter says. Anyway, Eric July is the problem, because apparently he's a far extreme based Chad Hugo Boss Roman saluting all over YouTube, because YouTube is known for allowing right wing perspectives on YouTube. And in case you're not aware, they very much do not allow that, because he doesn't like most of the pop cultural Marxist Frankfurt School cancer that comes out of Hollywood. And why would he? It's friggin' unwatchable. It's like Hollywood is telling you themselves how unwatchable their crap is, because there's more bombs now in the past 5 years than at probably any time, where they're still putting big budgets into movies, and they're just not getting the return on investment. The thing is, because to the cat ladies, if you're not on Stalin's gulag, then you're the enemy who needs to be censored and demonetized. I mean, they did the thing with Russell Brand. It's like, yeah, I'm not saying the dude was an angel or anything, but it's really weird that you're going after him and not going after someone like Epstein, or it's like, so he didn't lose his bank accounts. Yeah, that's weird. You focus all this energy on Russell Brand. Yeah. So anyone who questions the media, the government, Hollywood, or we'll say the farm industry, they got to be destroyed, because the new globalist left is the media, Hollywood, and the government. They wanted free speech until they got power. Now they want free speech for them and censorship for you. So these cat ladies are gunning for Vox Day, Dixon in July. Something to do with Vox has a comic about the Epstein stuff in Hollywood, which apparently is a far extreme theory or something, except that it all actually happened. And, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to talk about this stuff on YouTube. I don't care that much. He got I don't miss the YouTube ad revenue, because it's not that much, but every once in a while the tips, I will admit, I'm going to miss that when I get shown the door. So he got deleted in a jail cell. So did his partner in a French jail cell. In both cases, the camera's turned off, and the dude walks in there, handles business. The guards get paid off, and the media and government won't ask questions, because they or their bosses are probably also on the flight logs, or they don't want to be next. But it's a far right theory, and it's ISTAPHOBIC to question the media narrative, but they never actually say why it's ISTAPHOBIC. Epstein all actually happened, and nobody investigated it. And probably because nobody is willing to be Epstein by asking or Hillary Clinton. I can imagine Hillary Clinton sneaking in there. She's legitimately a bad. I read one of Nixon's study on Nixon, and they were talking about Hillary was involved in that. She actually got fired for dishonesty for denying Nixon. She was working with the prosecuting offices, denying him some of his due process by concealing evidence or something. She literally got fired for that, and then she was running for president. It's like, you realize the people who are selected, not elected, to be your leaders, they're the worst people on earth. Anyway, so then you're telling me there's if nobody's willing to investigate this kind of stuff, that there's a hidden shadow government who are actually ruling, and that there were slaves to them. Well, I mean, then it's time to dismantle that situation, set as carefully as possible for you to, which is where the bread and circuses come in to keep people distracted with all these shiny objects. Anyway, so Vox, who actually blocked me on Gab for some reason. It's weird when you're too offensive on Gab, even for Vox, which is fine. I think he's a great writer. I don't know why he blocked me. A little bit offended by that. So he writes a comic about these Hollywood government Mossad honey trap type of guy. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that word. So these honey traps, which they've been doing for a while, and then, honestly, it's like that group, the intelligence agency I just mentioned, which I better not mention again. That sounds like that. What's that? L-A-L-M-N-O-P. The letter comes after P in the alphabet. I'm a little dyslexic, so I think it's that. The P group. That sounds honestly like an intelligence agency. Operation, because they actually have a history of doing something like that, very similar. And it sucks that like most of those MAGA people are mostly on our side, and they're also really naive, high trust, altruistic. So when some like anonymous thing comes out, I go, like, you probably want to check the sources before you trust some anonymous group that's telling you exactly what they want to tell you, telling you like, trust the plan and sit and wait. It's like, yeah, that's an intelligence operation from some hostile foreign power. Does it sound too good to be true and it's anonymous? Yeah, then it's too good to be true. It's probably nefarious. And it sucks that most of those people are, when push comes to shove, they're probably going to be on our side. But there's a lot of there's suicidal levels of altruism for a lot of these people in the West. Anyway, so all that stuff, the island, all that stuff actually happened. Allison Nathan sealed the records of the trial. Then she was promoted to the Court of Appeals by Biden. Like, all this stuff is all actually happening, but nobody questions any of it, just except the narrative. Oh, I can't even read that. What's the point of screen capturing something if you can't even read any of this stuff? Or you might accidentally self-delete. Oh, is that on the table? Yeah, eventually. I mean, that's why big channels don't talk about this kind of stuff. I mean, because you get kicked off the platform. But even if you're on Odyssey and Rumble and you had like a 6-figure channel and like you focused on this, yeah, you just be gone one day. That's kind of the way of the world also. So our government doesn't represent us. Oh, way to turn off comments, you total puss. So our government doesn't represent us. They serve at the bidding of this shadow government. Yeah, it's been that way for a long time, and probably since 1913 or 1910 at that island. So another island, right? Jekyll and Hyde, I think. And people are too fat to care because they got to play video games and drink corn syrup. And anyone on the right who does anything gets called feds by the normal MAGA trust the plan right wing, except that the MAGA right wing literally will never leave the couch and protest over anything. So they call the other right wing guys who aren't 300 pounds feds. Except they've been peacefully protesting for years, and usually feds foment some kind of illegal activity. So I'm not quite... Well, they cover their faces because the media will dox them and fire them. Oh, why doesn't MAGA protest? Because we'll get doxed and fired. Well, why don't you cover your faces then? Because patriots don't cover their faces. Who told you that? And why do you believe something so stupid? MAGA wants change, but they want it they want someone else to do it for them without ever actually leaving the house. And then when people try to do something, they just tear them down. Anyway, so Chuck Dixon is a fantastic writer. By all means, I have a mailbox. You can send me his stuff. But the cat lady thinks she's ISTAPHOBIC. I do have one comic. I got a couple comics of his, but I got the one in the Comicsgate collection. Savage, Delete All Men, or something Delete All Men. Friggin' great comic, kind of a not Jules Verne, not H.G. Wells, the Arthur Conan Doyle Lost World type of vibe. I mean, there's a whole, Henry Rider Haggard a little bit. It's like all four of those guys kind of stuck in together. Something Delete All Men, Kill All Men. Great comic. By all means, send me Chuck Dixon comics for sure. But the cat ladies think he's istaphobic because he and Vox made a comic about the Weinstein type of stuff. So who cares? If the cat lady argument is on the side of protecting the Hollywood degenerates who are on those kind of flight logs, then there's really no counter argument to that. They're saying, I guess it's not politically correct to attack people who abuse kids. I mean, we need to do much more than write comics and make stupid YouTube videos, but it's a start. Because anything that starts normalizing people becoming aware of these issues and talking about these issues and moving that window to the right of shining the spotlight on these people, that's a good thing, even if you're doing it very carefully through YouTube videos. It's weird that there are these anonymous accounts that want to protect these Epstein types. I mean, I wonder who funds them. I'll always ask who benefits and follow the money, but the who benefits thing is kind of weird because you really have to go down the rabbit hole and understand what they consider a benefit. It's like looking at Disney. People think, oh, it's the return on investment, articles of incorporation, there's shareholders and dividends and stock growth. No. That's how you value a company. They have a different motivation, a much, much darker motivation. Everyone looks at that and goes, it's a $150 billion company. It's not a blood drinking cult. That's where you're wrong, my friends. So the people abusing kids are the bad guys, and the people defending kids are the good guys. Whatever labels globalist media labels them or what they label themselves is completely irrelevant. Antifa was violently attacking parents who were against schools brainwashing their kids. It was Muslim parents up in Canada and Mexican parents down in LA, because those are the only parents who have privilege to be able to not be destroyed by the media. Because that's they call that fashion. We'll say fashion for a little bit of a, get around the algorithm. Then you're telling me that in your argument is that the fashionable ones are the good guys because you're against them, but they're for protecting kids, and you guys, the anti-fashionable group, is for hurting kids. I mean, it's sort of a new way of thinking, but that's the only logical conclusion, that anyone opposing the child abusers are the good guys. If you tell me Satan has joined us because even for Lucifer, abuse of innocent children is against the rules of the universe, then fine. We're still the good guys. The Epstein people are the ultimate evil. It's right up there where sterilizing kids, or California literally passing laws so the state can kidnap your kids if you don't sterilize them. If you get kids, honestly, I mean, it all depends if you're in a government school or not. You really want to set up like homeschools or small neighborhood schools or I mean, something else entirely other than leaving the state. Anyway, sometimes I can't believe we're in this insane timeline. So Eric July, who's an extreme YouTuber who craps on stupid movies, is an alt toxic right whatever because he's making comic books and invading Poland. No, it's just comics and talking about movies. It's just normal stuff, and Chuck is doing some comics with him, and apparently that's a big deal if you're a soy boy or a cat lady. Keep in mind, July and Dixon aren't forcing anyone to buy their stuff. It isn't enough for the soy boys. They don't want you to have the right to read these comics. That's how they operate. They need to control you. July's channel or his comics are not going to force themselves into these cat ladies' lives, but they feel the need to spend their time trying to prevent me and you from reading their comics. The left has to insert themselves between these two parties and prevent it from happening. They did the same thing with diversity in comics. Myers was not hurting a billion-dollar industry with 20,000 subs in his car, but they couldn't allow a guy to criticize their stupid comics, so they attacked him and his family, and they literally made him $1 million. And it's bizarre how these soy boys operate. They attack, but then people look at this passive-aggressive soy people, and they realize that they're the bad guys in any situation, and you probably want to be on the other side. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. By all means, send me Chuck Dixon's comics in the mailbox. I'll see you guys all next episode.